Welcome to the Transform Tomorrow Today podcast, a series dedicated to the complex and exciting world of change in organizations. We are your hosts, Linda McLaughlin and Catherine Tano, and are both global experts in organization development and change management, working across 5 continents. We help organizations navigate the challenges of transformation successfully, using our expertise as consultants and master coaches over many decades.
In this podcast series, we invite leaders who are at the forefront of transformation to share their own stories and reflect on the lessons learned with changemakers like you. Following each interview, we analyze the case and summarize the key messages and takeaways. Welcome to our community of inspiring changemakers, transforming tomorrow today.
Here with us for this episode, we have Leah Futschik, who is Diversity Scholarship and Engagement Director at Sanofi and is leading this groundbreaking diversity initiative. As part of the initiative, Leah will discuss the Next Gen Scholarship aiming at supporting the future generation of diverse healthcare leaders. Prior to joining Sanofi a little over a year ago, Leah has gained an extensive experience in international cooperation and education, working for 15 years in both the private and public sectors in France and in the US. Leah, you're so welcome.
Thank you, Linda. Delighted to be here with you today.
Thank you, Leah, for being with us. Sanofi is an innovative global healthcare company with one purpose: to chase the miracle of science to improve people's lives. With 90,000 employees in more than 70 countries and focusing on 6 therapeutic areas, Sanofi discovers, develops and delivers medicines and vaccines through breakthrough science to make a positive impact on the people and the communities they serve. At Sanofi, the vision is to unleash the full potential of their employees and transform healthcare to be more inclusive and equitable. So diversity, equity and inclusion is a critical enabler at Sanofi's strategy and its commitment to society. Part of the DEI strategy, Sanofi launched in 2023 a groundbreaking initiative called 1 Million Conversations, aiming at rebuilding trust in healthcare among the underrepresented. 1 Million Conversations is an ambitious 8-year initiative backed by a 50 million euros investment by Sanofi. And Leah, you are part of this initiative. So can you tell us what is the unique thing you are very proud of?
Thank you, Catherine. I'm very proud to be part of this journey aiming at rebuilding trust in healthcare, and particularly the Sanofi Next Gen Scholarship, which aims at supporting young leaders from diverse backgrounds into becoming healthcare leaders. Let me give you just a little bit background about the 1 Million Conversations, of which the Next Gen Scholarship is a main pillar. As you might know, too many people from marginalized communities distrust healthcare and those who work in it. This comes from having a bad experience within their healthcare journey, whether feeling unsafe or unheard. Just to give you a few figures of background through a survey that we launched in the US, the UK, France, Brazil, and Japan in 2022, ethnic minorities are much more likely to say they have had a bad experience that damaged their trust in healthcare. And this with a 15-point trust gap from people who are not ethnic minorities. Similarly, many people from the LGBT community report a similar experience with an 8-point trust gap from people who are not from the community. And just to give you an example, in France, women who are disabled report that they have a negative experience with a 24-point trust gap from people who are without those characteristics. So 1 Million Conversations aims to change that. Within the 1 Million Conversations, we have 3 pillars. The Next Gen Scholarship, which aims at rebuilding trust in healthcare through supporting young leaders from diverse communities. The second pillar is a pillar about talking to the communities, listening to communities about their experience and how together we can make a change. And the third pillar is about making a change, influencing the system, moving the needle together to reinforce equity in healthcare.
It's a very ambitious project, Leah. My goodness. You mentioned a 50 million investment. You said it would run for 8 years. And just the broader societal impact you're trying to achieve. And if you go into the Next Gen Scholarship pillar, what have been the main achievements so far? And how far along are you on that 8 year and the 50 million investment?
So we are just 1 year in. We launched the initiative last year in Davos with our CEO, Paul Hudson. So you can see that it's an initiative that's backed at the top level, behind, of course, the financial support that is put within the initiative. The Next Gen Scholarship Program is a holistic program. It aims at really supporting and help developing the future leaders of healthcare coming from diverse backgrounds. It encompasses both, of course, a financial support to get through the studies, but also a leadership training program where the scholars get specific trainings in order to develop soft skills, both in communications, in collaborations, but also in diversity, equity, and inclusion domains. The idea is also for the scholars to get to know Sanofi better and to get an idea of how they could project themselves in the healthcare sector, and most importantly also at a global innovative company like Sanofi. This is why we also provide the scholars from a mentor so that they can get to know us better, and they also get accompanied in kind of sketching out their journey. We also offer the scholars an internship and or apprenticeship position during their studies for them really to get a feel of what it means to work at a company like Sanofi. And because the initiative is a global initiative, currently with 5 countries and just opening in 5 new countries, they also have access to a network of other next-gen scholars, which is very important, both to develop their own networks, but also to get concrete ideas on how they can play a role as ambassador of trust.
It's very impressive, and it sounds that within a year, or not even 2 years or 3, you have already achieved a lot. And you mentioned the 5 countries and the number of scholars you have been supporting. How did you manage to make this happen in so little time?
So in this first year, we had the chance to select 100 scholars worldwide that are in 5 countries where we launched the initiative, in the United States, France, the UK, Brazil, and Japan. So we did work with universities that are very much committed in supporting students from diverse backgrounds and ensuring their success. Because it's a global initiative, of course, we did launch a global framework, but then at the local level, we of course adapted it to the needs of the communities locally, but also to the local regulations. You can imagine we cannot implement a diversity scholarship program in the same way in different countries. This program aims to be radically inclusive. It is open to all marginalized groups, including women, ethnic minorities, LGBTQ people, and people with disabilities.
I'd love to know a little bit more about how you're making it happen. Leah, you spoke earlier about rebuilding trust in marginalized communities. And how do you think these scholars can help you with that? And my second part of the question is, do they do research projects while they're under your scholarship? And if so, how do you select those?
This initiative aims at rebuilding trust in healthcare. As we said, it's a change maker both in society, but it's also a change maker within Sanofi. It's a culture change. This initiative aims to have more diverse leaders at Sanofi itself. And the DEI office that sits within the People and Culture department cannot do it alone. We have to do it across the board, enterprise-wide, with our colleagues. It involves working with the talent team, because as I mentioned before, we engage our scholars in an internship with the aim, if everything goes well, to be able to propose them a career to pursue at Sanofi. But we also work with the legal teams in making things happen in terms of collaboration with the universities locally. We also work, of course, with the finance teams, and we work a lot with the employee resource groups that are at the core of this initiative in supporting and helping us understand at the different levels and in different countries what might be the needs of these diverse communities and how can we best shape the program that is tailored to their needs and to make an impactful contribution. I mentioned before the network of the scholars. So for the first year, we're supporting 100 scholars, and every year we will grow. The scholars can be supported from 1 to 3 years during their academic journey. How can they help rebuild trust? Well, first, by also talking about the scholarship program to their colleagues. What we have heard from our scholars is that when they learned about the opportunity, many of them did not dare to apply. They thought it was not for them because they thought they could not get it. Seeing such an opportunity with a big company, they put themselves some stops. So we want to change that. We want to avoid that. We want that students from diverse communities there applying. This program is for them, is built for them, and is built with them. So by talking to their peers, the current scholars can help grow the program and help other students get the same opportunity, and in turn, of course, help rebuilding trust. We also engage them in as much as they want to have discussions on campus around trust and health, have students that they know have had bad experiences and what might help to regain trust in healthcare. Those discussions at Sanofi level, we also have both internally and externally with the communities within the second pillar of the initiative, an inclusive dialogues pillar, in order to work closely with the communities and help move the needle.
It sounds quite a game changer also within Sanofi, as it is an holistic project and it's tackling the culture, the identity, and you said that it fosters dialogue internally. And did you have internal obstacles to overcome, and how did you manage to overcome those, if any?
At Sanofi, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a critical enabler of our strategy, and we aim to co-create with all our co-workers this strategy to make it a more inclusive culture. But of course, when you bring in a new program, you have to bring different colleagues on board to make sure they understand the whys and the hows, and they help co-build and bring their own expertise and experience to it. So what was great is that we got to collaborate both at the global level, but also at the local level with all kinds of different departments, way beyond the diversity and equity and inclusion teams. And through the inclusive dialogues that we had, listening to stories of co-workers that have had bad experiences in their healthcare journeys really helped raise the awareness of the issues, even if some people were not concerned at first, and also help understand the need for a more diverse presentation within Sanofi. We work for the communities that we serve, and the best way that we can serve them is, of course, by having a representative leadership. But working at Sanofi is also beyond that, is coming yourself as you are to be able to give your best. And within that, the ERGs really play an important role also in mentoring the scholars that we have, and through the different connections, both through the scholars, but also the inclusive dialogues, it helps bring the company together on the goal and overcome some of the challenges. One challenge that we have is actually a good one, something that actually the next step, if I may say, of the scholarship. When we launched the program, of course, we wanted to support students from diverse backgrounds by supporting them with financial support, mentorship, an internship, and leadership training. But the aim is really to offer them a career in healthcare, and more specifically at Sanofi. And as we all know, it's always a challenge to do a conversion when you have a scholarship program. So the challenge is both for us, for when they are with us in the internship and when they connect with us during the training program, to show them that we're a welcoming company, that they can be themselves, and that they can bring change in the company. So the challenge will also be working with the talent teams to make sure that we have the space to welcome the scholars in the best way and offer them a career and a trajectory towards success.
I love, Leah, how you really at Sanofi given this so much deep thinking before launching it. You've talked about how the initiative connects inside the organization, outside the organization. It really is a very well conceived project. So what have been the main lessons you've learned?
I think you mentioned it, Linda. The main lesson is to really listen to the people who you are actually trying to serve, connect with the communities, and co-build. Of course, when we had to launch the scholarship, we launched it in a certain way after consulting internally and externally. But now that we have our 100 first scholars, we're consulting with them. We just had last week our first interactive workshop that was on storytelling. And the first thing that I did was to ask to send them a survey, because I want to make this program ever better. And only through feedback from the scholars can we really genuinely make it the best for their own use. So active listening, but also co-building, I think is a key lesson towards success.
And what could be next in front of you based on these lessons learned?
The next step will be to be able to be more visible, to be more well-known, to be able to, for more scholars, to be able to have access to it. And first, of course, to know it. And this is why we actually co-created with our scholars end of last year a video that we're very proud of. And in this video, one scholar per country tell their stories of why they applied to the scholarship and what is their experience with the healthcare system and how do they aim to make a change and to be change makers. So really the next step is to continue to grow and to further access to this program. But also, as I said, with the feedback from the scholars to make it even better and to ensure that we answer the needs of the communities you are trying to serve.
You said that basically your success will be that the internship, they will see how you care about them, how they are listened to, how they are included in the organization. It means that your leaders need to walk the talk. So how do you make that happen?
This initiative is supported at the highest level by our CEO, starting from the launch at Davos last year, but very importantly, of course, with the 50 million euro investment for the next 8 years that Sanofi has committed. This is an important step, I think, in the area. But beyond our CEO, our leaders are very much involved as they raise their hand right away to be mentors of our scholars, really some at the top level, because they know that by supporting and by helping the development of diverse leaders, they will also have diverse ideas in their teams, which in turn will help grow innovation in our company. We were also guided by a diversity, equity, and inclusion board, which is the first of its kind in the pharma industry, that is made of both external actors that are experts in their fields, but also people from our executive committee. And this DEI board helps us framing the journey for the scholars and keep us on our toes in making sure that we do best-in-class practice.
That's truly impressive. Wow.
It really is. And you mentioned about storytelling and the importance of storytelling. So what will kind of be the happy ending for this story for you in 8 years' time?
In 8 years' time, I would like to see all the next-gen scholars that we were able to support having joined the company. I know that all is not something necessarily possible, but really we aim for the majority of them to really have found great opportunity here, but not only have found a great opportunity, to have grown with us. Because the idea is not only to open the door, to support, but then, of course, to make sure they have fast-track access to success, to make sure that the students from diverse community that we are supporting today become the leaders of tomorrow.
And if you were to sum all of this up in just 1 or 2 words, what would this be?
I think for this program to be very impactful and very successful, we have to continue to be intentional. We have to continue to be bold, but most importantly, we have to be humble and to listen on what an impact it makes, and do we need to make changes to make sure it fits the needs of those who are trying to serve.
And an additional advice for our audience who are mainly transformers as you are, what would it be?
In these kinds of initiatives, none of us can do it alone. This is really collaboration at the basis of everything. Ourselves, we are looking for partners to make sure that together we can make real change in increasing equity in access to healthcare.
When we're coming towards the end of the conversation, but I have a feeling it's going to be continued, and I'm hoping that we'll have you back in season 2 or 3 to hear more about how you're getting on. It's a wonderful, wonderful story, very uplifting, very inspirational. I wish you every continued success, and we wish your diversity board, your CEO and all your leaders every success with the change they're about to bring in the pharma industry. Well done.
Thank you, Leah. Really very inspiring story.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Catherine. It was great to be with you today, and I look forward to continuing the discussion.
Wow, the ambition and scale of this project is really blowing my mind, Catherine. Right from the get-go, this is very much a purpose-led organization. The emphasis is on why and who we're serving. But, you know, when I listened to our guest and talking about this Million Conversations initiative, that is going to span 8 years, that has a 50 million euro budget allocated from this large pharma company. It is truly amazing. And the fact that they have gone to the steps of doing this in-depth research into why marginalized community health needs aren't been served, the fact that there's low trust among the marginalized, and that they have decided that it is their responsibility to fix this. It's not someone else's. It's not up to government, for instance, to do it. That this company has stepped into the place and proactively put an initiative and money and time and governance structures into it is really, really phenomenal. And I'm looking forward to discussing this one with you now and unpacking it a bit.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal, as you said, and it's very inspiring. I think that they had the why, the very strong why, and the mission is like a mission, a true mission and ambition, and they put the means behind that. Money, as you said, the people, but also very strong governance with a DEI advisory board, being capable to mix internal people and external people. And this is also challenging their own culture. So they put themselves in a place where they are challenging themselves and to allow other voices and the differences to be accepted and integrated to the culture, which is quite amazing because many companies are tempting to talk about diversity and equity, inclusion, social justice, but they go through it and they adapt their organization to that, which might be quite challenging, and which leads us to a concept of authenticity.
Yeah, I think, you know, they are talking about that concept of equal access to healthcare for everybody, but they now want to mirror the structure and composition and skill mix and diversity mix within their own organization. There's a real authentic feel about this project. I love that they've already, within 18 months of setting up the project, identified and agreed to sponsor 100 scholars on their journey. But not only do they want to sponsor their education, they are giving them internships. They are bringing them into the organization and not just trying to absorb these young graduates into the company and getting them to think the Sanofi way, but they actually want those interns to begin to reshape the culture and to bring different voices into the organization. And I also loved what Leah said about we want them not just to join the company, but we want them to stay in the company. We want to be sure that they feel comfortable, that they have all the opportunities, everything they need to grow and to reach the very top, and that eventually and over time that their decision-making bodies reflect all this diversity of the marginalized. So the scale of this and the authenticity is very, very impressive.
And the impact it will be amazing also in terms of, as you said, the internal culture, which means that they are creating space for the young people to express themselves and to be listened to, because you need to walk the talk. Because the very moment where you integrate them, you need to be really completely aligned and consistent in your own ways of working and leadership. The reason why I was quite interested of what she said about the storytelling, where they empower people, enable them, allow them to tell their story and be listened to. And this is creating a true dialogue between scholars, internal people, and also with the communities. Through this capacity of listening and questioning and giving space to the stories, they are creating a true dialogue which has a social impact.
And I mean, the social impact is amazing because over time, they are seeking to raise trust levels among marginalized communities who will then access and proactively access healthcare and prolong their health span. And it's very interesting that recent research from McKinsey, looking particularly at women's health, and women, I guess, have been marginalized often in health research because largely it's male subjects that have been used in the testing of drugs, for instance, and often health conditions particular to women have been underfunded in terms of research. And, you know, the talk now is not about lifespan because despite having perhaps less access to healthcare, women often live longer, but they live longer in poor health. So the new term is health span rather than lifespan. So I think what Sanofi is doing in creating better health span for all levels in society is truly amazing. But the only way they can do that is to bring the change out in the community into their organization. It's not like it's inside and outside. It's becoming one whole transformation, which is really unique, I think. This is a case study that is pretty iconic in my view.
It is iconic, Linda, and we just hope that with this podcast, this case study may inspire others to do the same and to connect the internal change they are leading in their company with communities outside their company to have a bigger social impact. Thanks for listening to Transform Tomorrow Today with your host, me, Catherine Tano, and Linda McLaughlin. Again, our gratitude to our amazing guests for so generously sharing their transformation story.
Please follow us on @transformtomorrowtoday.podcast and be sure to download our show notes and tips and strategies on our LinkedIn page @transform-tomorrow-today. Let's join together so we can transform tomorrow today.